Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
The British wife of the Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein has announced she's leaving him following a torrent of allegations of sexual harassment and rape from a number of actresses. She described her husband's alleged behaviour as unforgivable. Angelina Jolie and Gwyneth Paltrow are the latest women to come forward, and the Obamas have added their voice to the condemnation of a man who was one of the most powerful in Hollywood. BAFTA has suspended his membership. Nick Bryant reports.
The names just keep on coming, from A-list actresses to women who just wanted to break into the movie and TV industry, one after one, claiming Harvey Weinstein sexually abused or harassed them. He denies many of the accusations, but now his wife of 10 years has decided to leave him, horrified by what she's been hearing. The British fashion designer Georgina Chapman described her husband's actions as unforgivable and said, "My heart breaks for all the women who've suffered tremendous pain." The New Zealand model Zoe Brock claims the producer harassed her at the Cannes Film Festival in the late 90s.
Harvey walked out of the room and came back in naked.
He came back naked?
Naked.
What did you say?
And he said that he wanted a massage. Could I give him a massage? And I said no.
The British actress Romola Garai says she was left feeling violated when Weinstein auditioned her as an 18-year-old.
Harvey developed a love of...
From a stage at the White House, Michelle Obama once lauded this major Democratic Party fundraiser.
This is possible because of Harvey. He is a wonderful human being.
But finally, the Obamas, whose eldest daughter Malia conducted an internship at the Weinstein Company this summer, have issued a statement saying they're disgusted.
Silver Linings Playbook.
But this joke at the Oscars nomination ceremony 4 years ago begs the question, what did Hollywood know and when did it know it?
Congratulations, you 5 ladies no longer have to pretend to be attracted to Harvey Weinstein.
This is the New York headquarters of the Weinstein Company, which sacked its co-founder on Sunday. It's said to be considering a change of name. The company faces the same questions as the industry as a whole. Did it protect him? Did it enable him? Was this an open secret that friends and colleagues simply chose to ignore? As the revelations keep coming, so do the repercussions. BAFTA has just suspended Weinstein from its membership, effective immediately. The call for accountability is getting louder.
All of this harassment, it's absolutely horrible. I feel terrible for the women, and I'm glad that they're speaking out. I think it takes a lot of guts. Maybe we're at a tipping point.
Weinstein is said to be seeking treatment, but friends and colleagues are repelling a mogul who this time last week was one of the most powerful and most magnetic personalities in movies. Nick Bryant, BBC News, New York.
The movie mogul Harvey Weinstein is said to have gone to ground somewhere in Europe tonight as the outcry against him over allegations of sexual harassment intensify. His British fashion designer wife, Georgina Chapman, broke her silence to announce that she's left him. In a statement, she said her heart breaks for the pain caused to women. Condemnation also came from former President Barack Obama and from Hillary Clinton. Well, here it's emerged Mr. Weinstein may have the honorary CBE he was awarded in 2004 taken away. Nina Nanar has the latest.
For decades, the brightest stars in Hollywood posed alongside him, but those days are over. The one-time power broker in Tinseltown, shamed and vilified. Today, his wife of 10 years, designer Georgina Chapman, who'd stood by her husband when the allegations first emerged, announced she was leaving him. "My heart breaks," she said, "for all the women who have suffered tremendous pain because of these unforgivable actions." 4 years ago, Weinstein, a long-time donor to the Democratic Party, was on stage at the White House with the First Lady.
This is possible because of Harvey. He is a wonderful human being, a good friend, and just a powerhouse.
Now Barack Obama and his wife, too, are putting distance between themselves and the disgraced studio boss. releasing a statement to say, "Michelle and I have been disgusted by the recent reports about Harvey Weinstein. Any man who demeans and degrades women in such fashion needs to be condemned and held accountable, regardless of wealth or status." Amongst the accusations facing Weinstein is that he'd trick young women into his hotel room and then appear naked, asking for a massage. Model Zoe Brooke says she locked herself in a bathroom.
Harvey left the room and immediately came back with no clothes on and asked for a massage. And so I demanded that he put his clothes on. I demanded that he leave me alone. I was very furious, and he was quite contrite when I did that.
Questions about how the movie mogul could have kept his power and position for so long have grown with the release of an audio recording made by New York police in a hotel 2 years ago, said to be Weinstein propositioning a model.
I'm a famous guy.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now.
Please come in now, and 1 minute, and if you want to leave, when the guy comes with my jacket,
yesterday you touched my breast.
Oh, please, I'm sorry, just come on, I'm used to that. Come on.
Are you used to that?
Yes.
Allegations first publicly emerged about Weinstein's conduct last Thursday. By Sunday, his company had dismissed him. Some of Hollywood's most famous stars made further allegations this week, and many actors he's previously worked with have condemned his behaviour. Now it's thought Harvey Weinstein could face further police investigations over 3 rape allegations and 17 sexual harassment claims. A spokesperson says Weinstein unequivocally denies the rape allegations. He is now said to be seeking counselling and treatment in Europe. Many, though, remain disturbed that his behaviour seems to have been an open secret in Hollywood for years. This from an Oscars event 4 years ago.
Congratulations, you 5 ladies no longer have to pretend to be attracted to Harvey Weinstein.
No one is laughing now.
Well, indeed, and it's developing all the time, isn't it? And new action is going to be taken here as well against him.
That's absolutely right. In 2004, Weinstein was given an honorary CBE for services to the British film industry. There have been so many calls over the last few days for that to be stripped from him. And while the Prime Minister has indicated that ultimately that decision rests with the Forfeiture Committee, there's been very strong words coming out of Downing Street this afternoon saying that the reports are deeply concerning and also praising those people who have come forward. So that pressure is growing there to remove that honour. BAFTA has taken action this afternoon. They have suspended his membership. They've thanked him for his support and said in the past he's offered lots of support to their charity work. But what has happened is incompatible with their values. And tonight, the American Academy, they're the people that decide who gets an Oscar, basically, and he's been a member of that for a long time. They are being urged also to take action. A lot of organisations distancing themselves.
Interesting. Nina, thank you very much indeed.
The allegations against Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein have become more serious overnight, with 3 women telling the New York Times that he raped them. He has denied any non-consensual sex took place. In a statement, Mr. Weinstein's wife described her sadness at the tremendous pain his unforgivable actions have caused women. As she announced she was leaving him. And here, Labour MPs have called for Mr. Weinstein's honorary CBE to be removed. Our chief correspondent, Alex Thompson, reports. Please be warned, there are flashing images from the very start.
Safe to speak out. So now what you might call the Jimmy Savile effect unfolds overnight against Harvey Weinstein. A deluge of allegations ever more serious. 3 women now accusing Hollywood's most powerful producer of rape.
You know what would be great? Is if you give me a massage.
One of those 3, Asia Argento, went on to direct Scarlet Diva, depicting a heavy-set, bearded producer violently sexually assaulting a young actor.
You must come here now.
No.
Please.
No, I don't want to.
I'm not doing anything with you. Now you're embarrassing me.
I'm sorry, I
no,
cannot. No, yesterday was a kind of aggressive for me. I need to know a person to be touched.
I won't do a thing.
I don't want
Everything, please. I swear I won't. Just sit with me. Don't embarrass me in the hotel. I'm here all the time.
And then there is the tape, recorded in a police undercover operation 2 years ago, in which it's claimed Mr. Weinstein admits groping the model, Ambra Gutierrez.
Please come in. On everything. I'm a famous guy.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now.
Please come in now. And 1 minute, and if you want to leave, when the guy comes with my jacket,
yesterday you touched my breast.
Oh, please, I'm sorry. Just come on. I'm used to that. Come on.
Are you used to that?
Yes, come in.
No, but I'm not used to that.
I won't do it again. Come on. Sit here. sit here for a minute, please?
No, I don't want to.
And then there is the overnight press conference from the actor and screenwriter Louisette Geiss, who says Mr. Weinstein pressured her to watch him perform a sex act.
I told him I was leaving. He quickly got it out of the tub and grabbed my forearm as I was trying to grab my purse. And he led me to his bathroom, pleading that I just watch him. My heart was racing and I was very scared. I pulled my arm away finally and headed to the door. He started following me and telling me that he could introduce me to Bob Weinstein and that I could get a 3-picture deal and that he would greenlight my script. But I had to watch him.
A-list actors and Democrats lining up now to vilify the man they deified. Gwyneth Paltrow says he touched her and suggested a massage after casting her for the lead role in Emma. And here's Angelina Jolie.
I had a bad experience with Harvey Weinstein in my youth, and as a result, chose never to work with him again and warn others when they did. This behaviour towards women in any field, any country, is unacceptable.
The photo of how it all was. Now Hillary Clinton says she's shocked and appalled. Michelle Obama at a White House workshop organised by Harvey Weinstein.
This is possible because of Harvey. He is a wonderful human being, a good friend, and just a powerhouse.
Barack and Michelle Obama now say they are disgusted by the recent reports. Their daughter was an intern with Harvey Weinstein. They added, any man who demeans and degrades women in such fashion needs to be condemned and held accountable, regardless of wealth or status. Hollywood's global reach and influence will likely be undimmed. And as recent history instructs, the movie industry is not much different from so many other walks of life. It's now the turn of the film industry to be torn apart by the same dark, dismal story of power and exploitation of the vulnerable. We've seen it before in British politics, Cyril Smith, in British broadcasting, Sir Jimmy Savile, and so many more. More widely around the world, the Catholic Church and care homes, and always the same pathology of people who could have done something, who could have said something, who could have stopped it, remaining silent. Hollywood's abject failure to act stands out in one respect only. Weinstein's alleged abuse was so out there, so obvious, it had become the stuff of sketches and Oscar ceremony gags. What a hoot.
I turned down intercourse with Harvey Weinstein on no less than 3 occasions out of 5.
Congratulations, you 5 ladies no longer have to pretend to be attracted to Harvey Weinstein.
Or just the Hollywood motto about Weinstein down the years, it's better to run with the bear than get chased by the bear. Weinstein, too big to challenge. Harvey Weinstein says he is seeking counselling. He strongly denies any unconsensual sex acts and insists nobody who refused his advances ever faced any retaliation. Several police investigations of this embodiment of a movie mogul came to nothing. Others are making their own minds up. His wife, the British fashion designer Georgina Chapman, left him expressing, she said, heartbreak for all the women who've suffered tremendous pain. And the British Film Academy BAFTA this afternoon suspended Harvey Weinstein.
Well, earlier I spoke to journalist Sharon Waxman, who investigated Harvey Weinstein's alleged past behaviour for an article in 2004 that she claims was eventually spiked by the New York Times. I asked her what was the exact story she was working on.
I had heard allegations of sexual behavior misconduct from Harvey for a number of years, and I finally got the green light from my editors at the New York Times to go and chase down a couple of tips that I had in Europe. So the first had to do with a Miramax executive, which was owned by the Walt Disney Company at the time. And I went to Rome and I tracked down the fact that the person running Miramax Italy, a guy named Fabrizio Lobaro, had actually no experience in film and in fact was mainly focused on doing favors for Harvey, including procuring women. And I flagged it to my editors, and I'm like, this is going to be a very tough story. Harvey Weinstein's a big fighter. Are we up for this? And I guess the paper wasn't up for it.
Did they write you a note back?
No, that was what ended up happening is they didn't kill the story, but they buried it and they took out anything that related to sexual anything or women. So it really kind of made no sense. It was a fairly random story about an obscure executive in Italy who had been fired.
Now, your direct editor at the time suggested that you didn't have it nailed. That's how he's put it.
Right. Well, I don't think that he took the story. I think they wanted the story to go away is what I think. I obviously disagree with him strongly, or I wouldn't be on your program and going on the record to call out the Times.
How much pressure did they come under? Did you come under as well?
Well, I came under severe pressure as a reporter. Harvey used what he could. And of course, I knew that he was going to go to my superiors, which he did. I am not aware of the conversations that went on above my head. And all I know is that at the time, he pushed back hard with his team. And he, for example, had Matt Damon call me and say, hey, Sharon, Harvey asked me to call and say Fabrizio's a good guy. Russell Crowe did the same. I didn't tell them what the story was that I had because they had nothing to do with it. I wasn't not interested in drawing them into a story.
I mean, Matt Damon has said, you know, it was just a 30-second conversation he had with you. He seemed slightly perturbed to have been drawn into this whole affair.
Well, I'm a little perturbed, actually, that Matt Damon's getting all the scrutiny. It's just, scrutiny doesn't belong on Matt Damon. That's just silly. The scrutiny belongs on the New York Times, who ought to do a little bit of inward navel-gazing and try to figure out what did happen at the time.
The New York Times editors at the time say they've got no recollection of being pressured over your story. Why do you think they're saying that?
None of the editors who were there at the time are at the New York Times today. And I think that is a very vague and non-answer answer to say they have no recollection of. There's nobody there today who was involved with it. And I understand that Harvey Weinstein fought like the devil always to keep anything negative out of the press. And there's no publication that was more important or is more important to him on the planet than the New York Times. I understand all of that. But at the time, I felt that the New York Times caved to pressure, and I now am 13 years down the line, and I felt after they were patting themselves on the back, I felt it was appropriate to speak up.
Really, you're saying the New York Times is part of this misogynist establishment, really?
I'm not saying that. I said the New York Times caved to, I believe the New York Times caved to pressure on this story. That's what I'm saying. I'm not drawing a larger statement about the New York Times. The New York Times is a really important institution. I'm proud to have written for it. I think this time they did not live up to their ideals and did not serve their readers well.
Well, with me now is the film producer Alison Owen, who's worked with Harvey Weinstein herself in the past, and her credits include Elizabeth, Shaun of the Dead, and The Other Boleyn Girl. Ms. Owen, when did you first hear stories that worried you about Weinstein?
Well, I think the worrying thing is that they didn't really worry me. I'd always had the stories about Harvey. They were many and various and well known throughout the industry. I think the thing is, one never heard them firsthand. I never spoke to an actress who said this happened, or an assistant who said this happened. It was always, oh, did you hear about the intern that Harvey did that to? Or did you hear the actress who Harvey did that to? So they were not things that you sort of felt you could take action on because they were hearsay.
And also at the time, it was sort of like, went with the territory, did you feel? I mean, is that?
I think Harvey was larger than life. Harvey is like the little girl with the little curl. When he's nice, he's very, very, when he's good, he's very, very good. And when he's bad, he's horrid. And so he was, he's gregarious, he's funny, he's charming. He's also a bully and a sexual predator, two sides of the same coin.
And there was a particular incident you said today that particularly concerned you at a screening.
Well, I guess these things, they bring it up, don't they? And when I heard all the stories that have been coming out over this past week, I remembered when I was in a screening room with Harvey once, years ago. I was looking at the work of a cinematographer, and I was working with Harvey on a movie. I wanted him to see it. He came along. We were alone in the screening room, and he was about 3 rows behind me. And I was surprised he'd come to watch the work of a cinematographer, because Harvey's a very busy man and usually would get it sent to him, or a clip of it. But it became clear when we started to roll the film that it was actually Meg Ryan, who famously had had no nudity and would not take her clothes off. It was the first film that she was nude in. And as soon as the film started, Harvey started speaking to the projectionist, like, spool it forward, just get to her tits, get where she takes her clothes off. And the projectionist did, and then he froze frame, and then he proceeded to, you know, just talk about her, America's sweetheart, you know, get your tits out, you know. And it was just sort of vile. It was worse language than that, but I won't use it. And it became short of breath, and I wondered what he was doing back there. And I felt, you know, I felt disrespected. I felt bad for Jane Campion and her film, and for Meg Ryan. And
it's absolutely gross as well, isn't it? Just a few rows back. I mean, what went through your mind at that point?
Well, it makes you feel disrespected as a person. It makes you feel, well, he obviously does not, I'm working with him producing a film, but he thinks I'm of no importance if he's going to do that in a screening room with me, and he thinks I'm completely powerless because he doesn't think there's going to be any repercussions or that I have any way of holding him accountable.
Well, did you think about reporting that and sort of making some repercussions happen?
Who to? But that's what everyone's been saying the past few days. Why has no one spoken out before?
Well, I guess it could have been a police matter.
What are the police going to do if you walk in and say somebody was abusing Meg Ryan in a screening room? I mean, certainly that, but even people with much more serious accusations, people who Harvey had attacked or asked them to give them a nude massage or whatever, I don't think they could have gone to the police or indeed informed a journalist at that point. The media were very behind Harvey Weinstein, and it was too frightening.
All of the stories that are coming out, all of the allegations have shed a very uncomfortable light on the industry, haven't they? I mean, what does it say about the industry itself?
I think it says that the film industry is like any other industry where people will abuse power if they get it. But the film
is it
industry
like any other industry? I mean, it's sleazier
to the
than
power
that,
of 10 because it attracts. It attracts very addictive people, very extreme people. So I think you get a lot of sex addicts, you get a lot of drug addicts and alcoholics in there. And I think you get people who are attracted to very extreme behaviour there. But I think the dynamic of power is no different to anywhere else.
Has a Rubicon been crossed? I mean, are things going to change now, finally, after all these decades?
Yes, I think they are. I think this is a moment of change. I think the prevailing culture has shifted. It has, what's happened to Roger Ailes at Fox, what's happened to the Cosby, has enabled these women to come out and talk about their experiences with Harvey Weinstein. My own sister-in-law was one of the first 4 people to go on record with the New York Times. And Laura has kept that quiet for 25 years. She didn't even tell me until I saw it in the New York Times. But she had felt empowered by the shift in the culture. Brick by brick, it's being dismantled.
Incredibly brave of her.
Incredibly brave. We're very proud of our Laura.
Thank you very much for coming on and sharing that with us. Thank you.
Thank you.